All right. So, welcome to today's webinar. We're talking new technology and AI in home improvements. So, it's going to be fun to dive in. So, without a little bit of introductions here, my name is Sean Conners. I'm founder and CEO of Contractor Appointments. We do lead generation at scale for large home and service providers on mostly on a revenue share basis, but we also do pay per appointment here as well. So helping roofing, siding, windows, bath, solar companies grow here as well. So that's what we do. But Pete is my special guest here today from gFour Marketing. Pete, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Sure.
You tell us a little about yourself and your background within the industry.
Thanks, Sean. Yes, so this is, I believe, year number 16 now in the home improvement / home services space. I am the VP of Sales and Marketing with gFour. gFour Marketing is a program to help you leverage your existing customers to generate more referral business, repeat business, and 5-star reviews. So definitely excited about this topic. Like you mentioned, it has certainly taken our industry by storm here over the last, call it a handful of years, and certainly is a more efficient way of looking at things when at all possible to have certain AI programs in place to be a little bit more insightful and intentional with your efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited to kind of pose these questions to you and kind of get your feedback on them.
Yeah.
Here as well. I think just diving in, I think one thing we talked about briefly, I just wanted to give some context here. You're saying you've been to a bunch of events here recently.
Yep.
And just hearing from companies kind of two different sides to the coin here of some companies are doing really, really well, in business, and some companies are struggling for leads, struggling just for kind of post, the highs of, the last few years here, a couple of years of leads coming in the door. I'm curious, how companies will kind of, each of those type of companies who are in different boats will kind of leverage some of this technology we'll talk about here today. So I am curious, just one question is off the script here, but was at the events you went to, was AI, any of that stuff really talked about? And
absolutely. I mean, not only was it talked about, it was, demoed, out on the floor, so we, as vendors / partners get the opportunity to meet with contractors, during the breaks and throughout these events. And I think everybody's looking for that competitive advantage, whether it's through AI, whether it's through financing or through, their existing relationships. And so there's lots of different ways to, compete and to do it, smart and efficiently. And AI is, kind of that cutting edge piece, which again, some I think are maybe a little apprehensive, maybe nervous, because there's still some disbelief. And maybe I think it's just, our responsibility to continue to educate the industry on, all of the opportunities out there. And then others that have taken advantage of AI and other solutions available to them were some of those companies that you had mentioned that, have continued to succeed, continue to grow. And, they are still out there hunting and fishing, or whatever you want to call it. But, times where fish were jumping in the boat versus, having to get the rod out and put on the belt and, bring in these opportunities have, certainly swayed a little bit. So just being as best prepared, across the board is, kind of what we're, screaming from the rooftops here. So anyhow, we'll talk more about some of the other things we're seeing, but yes, AI is certainly well and present out there today.
Yeah, I think that was an interesting, I feel like I've heard mixed signals out there from a couple different people, of that. It's well, we heard about it from one little thing, but no other vendors or anything like that are really talking about it. So I think it's I think overall, you look at the news, everything, half the articles are on AI and half of them are probably written by AI.
Yep.
So it's, it is the thing out there now, but in home improvement specifically, it's like, we want to find out what that technology is, and which companies are going to jump on the bandwagon there. So
For sure.
I'm curious what, at the events, like what new exciting technology as a whole, and do you see that's you like helping home improvement companies kind of grow here overall?
Well, there's a lots of different, so CRM companies have certainly been around, now for, call it for a long time, but even more so, I think 2010 to present time. I remember when I first started, you used the acronym CRM and no one really knew, or not many knew what that meant. People were still operating off of Excel spreadsheets or QuickBooks, or maybe some, homegrown kind of program. So those are certainly, great tools to keep you organized, to help manage the business and give you, great insights, from reporting. And the industry has done such a great job, adopting technology, in my opinion, over the last, half dozen years, so that, things like quoting software, we've got the Leaps of the world,
Mhm.
the way to get into the home and to be more efficient with your sales presentations, and to have something that's a little bit more dynamic and interactive with like a Engage. So those two companies in particular are out there crushing it. You've got Rilla, who's kind of recently come onto the scene. The voice driven technology that really helps assist while you're in the home, so that you can, really drive your sales pitch and get the most out of your efforts. I mean, the realist seems to be everywhere. Think Unlimited, predictive sales AI, in
Mhm.
particular with our topic today. I mean, those two companies are really at the forefront of this AI movement. And, I hear good things about both of them. And again, just really helping you better understand, who your ideal customer is, helping you to personalize your message and convert more of these leads into wins by just, better understanding your prospect, your homeowner. So all of those, and then again, on top of that, there's nothing more important than finance, right? And having these finance options. And I think we've got some great fintech companies who have not only been able to get creative with their offers, but then to be able to give you some tools in the field to be able to execute, you know, these um, these financing programs very quickly.
Mhm.
Has certainly helped, contractors close more business. And so all of those, and that's kind of a long-winded answer, but those are what I'm seeing out there at the events. A lot of again, you've got the contractor appointments. I think you guys are in a unique space, but everybody needs leads, and we were just talking about this before we jumped on this call. It's like half the contractors I talked to today are still crushing it. It's like these last couple of years weren't this anomaly that we kind of maybe thought that it was going to be. I mean, sure, it's not as crazy as it was, but at the same time, with those that have multiple programs, diversified lead flow, they've got these sales systems in place. So again, sales coaching, sales step programs have certainly helped grown a lot of these businesses. And then on top of that, just being able to then leverage those customers and turn them into more customers through repeat business and referrals has been monumental for a lot of the companies to be able to grow more profitably.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I mean, you mentioned a bunch of them in there. I think from just the basics of CRM systems that are out there right now, I do think like, anybody who's at scale, who's trying to build a business that's trying to sustain, I feel like, it was when I first got in the industry back in 2008, it was, you know, 9 out of 10 people were working off a spreadsheet. And like when
Yep.
I was even working for a company, it was a manila folder. It was like that's how we did job management and project management and all that kind of stuff, and a bunch of whiteboards. I mean, that still happens today too, even with the CRMs. But overall, like it was very archaic. And then the advent of the systems that are in there that you can manage projects all through the CRM. And those systems have come a long way from even
Absolutely.
notifying and communicating with the homeowner. I still have a ways to go there, in my opinion, but from a true like integration. But the new tools out there, you mentioned Rilla being one that like literally it's recording, like a voice recording the conversation you're having with that salesperson's having with the homeowner in the house, so you can like coach them.
Right.
It's transcribing that message, and you can actually do coaching your sales team of like, it gives you transparency into the home and the sales presentation that you never had before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which is just super powerful. I've got a tool on my computer, because I do Zoom calls all day long, that does the exact same thing, that transcribes and summarizes every single Zoom call I have. And it sends the copy of it to both me and to, whoever I was in a meeting with. It's crazy powerful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I can copy that right into the CRM and the Salesforce. So it's a fantastic tool to be able to just kind of keep tabs on how things are going. And then just, again, just having transparency into coaching salespeople out there. I will say, if you've seen a tool, or you're like noticing a tool in the home improvement space, or something that's related to the home improvement space, please throw it in the comments here or the chat. I'd love to hear if you've got a new tool that you've kind of stumbled across, because that's the tool I'm using right now for Zoom calls is called it's called Meet Geek. And it is, it's been a fantastic tool, but it's very similar to a Rilla Voice, that it's, taking that information and helping transcribe it and helping give you context of how that conversation went. It's really a fantastic way to be able to do it.
Well, it's amazing, because sometimes you get off those calls and you're so fired up, and you've got all these, emotions about the call, and then you get that transcription and the summary, and it's like, wow, I missed that part. Or
Yeah.
and I think it's cool that you get it and the other person on the other end of the call gets it too. So now you're both reading the same summary, and it seems to kind of level the expectation, and also just set the follow-up at that point up with a better success rate, just because you're both kind of on the same the same wavelength there, thinking the same thing.
So it is, it's crazy with just even the simplicity of like getting a transcription on every sales call that you do, and your sales reps in the house. I think that's, a huge way to be able to just get additional insight to know what to coach or what the sales rep needs to do. But I think one of the craziest things about tools that are out there like this is that it doesn't just protect the contractor and your sales rep. It gives them, how many times you walked away and go, shoot, what was that color that we agreed upon?
Right.
I thought I wrote it down. I got to go call them up, and hopefully they remember the type of blue that they chose, or whatever the issues are there. So it's being able to summarize even some of that stuff and go back and see some of that stuff, I think is super, super powerful.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that'd be really great. So I'm curious if you've seen any other tools that are out there, obviously from a sales AI standpoint, and like integrating that into the sales side of things. You had mentioned kind of the Think Unlimited being a part of that. Maybe if you want to, I can share some information I know about them, but if you can share, like what have you seen with some of the tools like that, of like enhancing your current customers getting in the door, and the power behind some of that?
Right. I think, from my understanding, they've really helped increase the conversion rates, just by helping the contractor better understand who their prospect is, so they can speak to them a little bit more with personalization, right? This isn't just for like leads that are coming in that are new, quote unquote, because I'm hearing different things like where you have psychographic information, demographic information, to where you could potentially even line up the um, the sales rep that fits the appointment best based off the demographics of the prospect. You also have this database of prospects, and it helps you better convert the database because they can run certain algorithms, across the database to give you your best bets. And like we always talk about, we like to do business with those, um, or how do I want to say this? People hang around with people that are like-minded, right? And we want referrals from the ideal customers of ours. And so how do we sell to more customers that are better fitted for our program, that have a higher likelihood of, qualification for finance, that have a better likelihood of, spending more and buying again. So all of these programs really help the contractor do just that. And I'll be honest, I'm not like an expert on what they do. I
Yeah.
have enough to be dangerous, but I think it definitely helps enhance the
Hmm.
speed of all of this. Like rather than chugging through a database and just kind of, you know, working it, you can be smarter about how you approach it from, like a rehash perspective or from an upsell campaign. And then on the flip side, as those new leads come in, we can be smarter about how we position ourselves up front for the appointment so that we have a better likelihood of converting that lead versus, what we had before without some of this insight into the prospect, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I think the two things that I've kind of seen and hearing from you, I mean, it's one is just getting to know who your ideal customer is. If you've got a database of more than 1,000 people that you've, and that's like leads or customers or people who have said yes to you in the past, and it's like if you can get amend a bunch of demographic information out there that's just public record, like how much was their house value, how much
Right.
income do they make on an annual basis, like simple things like that, or what kind of buyer personas are they, family people, are they in the retirement age, like, and you can go, wow, like 40% of the people who purchase from me are either like, they have kids that are older or they're retired. Like if you were able to put people into these categories, then you know who you can market to better, and even who your ideal customer is and who you're most likely to win a customer base from. Or if you know that they're brand new homeowners, we just do really poorly with brand new homeowners,
Right.
and that's just not a good customer of ours. Well, maybe you just tweak your sales presentation, for a brand new homeowner that might be better geared to them because your sales presentation has been really geared to this other type of person. So it just gives you more insight about your potential customer that you've said, who have said yes to you before or said no to you, and why. And then you can actually drive insight to that of new leads that come in the door. You're just amending a bunch of new information. And then what's even cool about that here too is that you can actually assign that to sales reps who are better suited. Just like you said, we want to buy from people who are like us.
Right.
If
Right.
if I'm in this stage of life, then I might actually be able to relate better with that type of customer, to an extent too, that would help me close the deal when a different sales rep wouldn't. So that's fascinating stuff. I mean, it's really cool to be able to see like how it's like that's like sophisticated routing. But I think part of
Yeah.
it goes into the next question I had was just like overall, I think we like you need to have like systems in place from like a CRM, like where are you housing all of your contacts, your customers, previous customers. You need a CRM system to like maintain it all. But then you need like automations to like double your, to actually automate the processes of reaching out to that customer and how you communicate. So, I mean, I know you guys at gFour do a ton of that, obviously for customers, but tell and maybe explain to like what automations you feel like are like baseline, like every company should have a CRM, obviously, but what automation should they be using in the day-to-day business from like post-sale follow-up
Yeah.
and or even like, post demo, what automations should they just be kicking off immediately that, You maybe
There's
see people.
a lot of things we're hearing that have been successful. I mean, texting, having some type of a text presence before to help, position the appointment to, let the homeowner that, the sales rep's going to come out. In some cases, we even hear contractors taking it a step further where they actually put like a persona with the salesperson, right? So they're kind of taking a picture so they know that this exact rep is going to be showing up. And here's a little bit about this rep. And it's almost like building some of that
Yeah.
personal connection before you even show up so that you get in the door and that you have a better likelihood of, establishing some of that rapport versus, just from what we used to do years ago. And then, you can leverage texting on the follow up. There's a lot of different nurture type activities that contractors are doing or should be doing, post install. Because again, this is not a transactional business. This is a relationship business. And a lot of us offer multiple services. So there's a
Mhm.
great opportunity for us to get back in that home and sell again. And so we want to make sure that that homeowner doesn't forget about us. And the reality of it is, if we don't do our job and remind them about all of these great things that we do and why we're a reputable company and, so on and so forth, then they will forget about us. It's not their job to remember us. It's our job to make sure that they don't forget us. So we
Mhm.
want to stay in touch kind of through like a multi-channel approach, right? We want to take some time in their inbox, which can be pretty competitive today, right? I mean, there's a lot of emails that homeowners are receiving. So that's one way to, stay in touch. You can do it through emails that are personal, that are keeping in touch. We suggest to keep them short and sweet. And just really, it's all about just establishing that connection. But it's also good to be in their mailbox. So, think of ways to engage the homeowner. Maybe it's a newsletter, doing something from, a little message from the owner and then pull in some information that they see value in, whether or not we want to believe it. Most homeowners really don't care much about the roof or the bath or the kitchen or the siding.
Yep.
They want to see things that are engaging, like recipes and trivia and fun facts. And we can kind of integrate, I guess, that product pitch or maybe an offer in there. We want to wrap it with this fun, engaging content. And it's important to be consistent with that and all of these other things. So, when you talk about automation, there's all kinds of programs that you can, tie into your CRM, or a lot of these CRMs have the ability to create, certain marketing kind of drip campaigns. Whether you have the resources internally to do that yourself is one thing. If you don't, or if
Mhm.
it's hard to stay in touch, there are a lot of different, companies out there. And again, this is not a gFour plug, but this is something that we can certainly help with. There are programs like Constant Contact, MailChimp,
Yep.
and I'm sure there's others that I'm not, saying right now, that you can certainly leverage. But it's important to do this monthly to, continue to build that engagement. And we don't know when referrals are going to happen. They can happen, right after the sale. They can happen 6 years later down the road. It's all about staying top of mind and making sure that we are there when that homeowner is ready to make that next buying decision. And then on the same thing with repeat business, if someone just spent 10, 15, 20K with us, the likelihood of them coming back to buy from us in the next 6 months is it's probably pretty unlikely. It's pretty low. But
Mhm.
what in the next 12 to 18 months, 18 to 24 months?
Yeah.
So when that time comes around, it would be a shame if we didn't earn that job because we didn't stay in touch. And then one of our competitors, came through and got that job because they were at the right place at the right time. So those are just, some best practices that, lots of us can help you with, from, the standpoint of, your CRM partner. There's ways for them to help you, make sure that you're securing that relationship. There's, like I said, a few of these other programs that can certainly help you put that fence up around the relationship.
Well, I think one of I love the idea of, of continuing the conversation, whether it's post sale or post, demo or whatever that is, with that customer. And actually, I think the real estate industry does this really well. Some realtors do it really well. I know, like the realtor I bought from our house almost 11 years ago now, like I still get a monthly mailer from him, which has got like a coupon. To your point, it's got a coupon for like buy one, get one at some place.
Right.
I throw them away 9 times out of 10, but it's got his name on it and his brand on it. And it's like the law of reciprocation in some ways. It's kind of
Right.
like it came with something of value. I don't want to hear about real estate except if I'm not going to sell my house. They don't
Yeah.
want to hear about a roof or windows. But I think that's really interesting. He also sends like a piece of mail, like a physical newsletter in the mail every single month. And that's got like more like about what's going on and a little story from the owner, like a little bit of that kind of stuff. It's just, again, another touch point. And then on top of that, he puts on at least 4 events during every single quarter. He's got a movie that he invites everybody to. And that's a real estate transaction who just big money, in that each transaction there. But it's like, it always boggles my mind where more contractors aren't taking more of that real estate type of approach. Like we renovate our house at twice the rate that we ever will actually move in that home.
Sure.
So why don't we, and not everyone does every project, but if you can be there for those big ones,
Right.
and stay top of mind, that is, and even ask for the referral is just as valuable at this stage here
Well,
too.
think about this. I mean, if you were in the middle of a conversation anywhere, right? I mean, at a kid's sporting event or at the grocery store or a gathering, and somebody comes up with the question, like, "Hey, we're thinking about selling our home. Do you know any good realtors?"
Yep.
Or you have friends or family or somebody that's moving in town, right? And do you know a good realtor that you trust? I mean, I imagine this guy's name is top of mind. Like you would say,
Yeah.
"Hey, he's somebody who I would suggest. These are the reasons why." And again, the likelihood of you remembering that realtor 11 years later, I mean, again, buying a house is a little different because it's a huge, it's a, what is it? It's a noteworthy, it's a milestone in your lifetime for the most part. The average person doesn't buy more than, and I don't know these numbers, but too many homes, right? So it's probably a little different than getting, some remodeling work done. But at the same time, people have busy lives. They don't always remember these things, or it's just not top of mind at
Yeah.
that moment. They have to go back home and dig through their folders to find that business card or that contract to look it up, where that opportunity could have been lost. Where now this realtor is rolling off the tongue, just like the contractor should be.
Yep.
These instances because they've done a great job of staying in touch. So,
And all of the things, if you think about it in hindsight, he probably spends, a good maybe $40 a year per customer,
right,
to stay in touch. And to, to try to keep that relationship going. And he's not, you can do that for pennies, with email.
right,
And with text message and all that stuff here too. I mean, those are huge automation points just to keep in touch with your current, customers as well.
absolutely.
I think that's huge. So you're kind of mentioning, obviously, even asking for the referral and all those pieces of it. I know that's what you guys are, setting that stuff up. Do you, with gFour, are you guys actually implementing that stuff for people in some ways to because the content is the hard part, right? Or do you have any recommendations from even tools that are out there that you can go, well, like, can I, I don't know where to start with writing a newsletter. Most people don't do it because they don't know where to start. That's the hardest part.
I mean, and that's what we hear every day is we have these intentions. These are things that are on our roadmap, or we've tried it before. It's just hard to stay consistent, with them. So again, I believe we all have like the fundamental belief that this is the right thing to do. We know that we should stay in touch, but we again, those new leads are so sexy, and we just go after them. And
Yeah.
again, sometimes we just forget about this gold mine of an opportunity within our existing customer base. So yes, G4 does everything for the contractor. Some suggestions we would make is, again, start start small. It's probably in many cases better than what you're doing today. I wouldn't overthink a referral program. It's important to come up with an excuse, quote unquote, on why to reach out every
Hmm.
month. At G4, we leverage a contest. So we do a quarterly contest, and that is really just the vehicle that we leverage to show up every month and to remind your customers about your referral rewards program. And then we also we see a lot of different things out there when it comes to referral programs. In many cases, they're very confusing. There's all kinds of different hoops the homeowner has to jump through to qualify. And quite honestly, when you make it that difficult for your employees to understand, it's think about it from the homeowners, your customers' perspective, and they just give up. So we would suggest making it super simple, right? And don't reward the outcome of the appointment, which many, if not most, contractors do. We suggest rewarding the appointment, because at the end of the day, it's not the person's job who's referring the business. It's not their job to close the deal.
Yeah.
It's their job to get you in front of somebody who's qualified. And if you run that appointment and that prospect makes it through your confirmation process and all of that good stuff, and if you don't sell that job for whatever reason, we still suggest sending them a check and a thank you card. Thanks for the referral. Here's a check for $25 or whatever it is that you want to send them. And
Yep.
again, I would not overthink the payout amount. We've learned that the payout amount doesn't really matter. It can be 100, it can be 50, it can be 200. We've done a lot of dissecting of data, and our big takeaway from this exercise was nothing really stood out. Like the $200 payouts didn't perform better than the 20. It's the
Hmm.
gesture of saying thank you that matters most. And so by doing that, you see 6 times more referrals than you would have by just rewarding the outcome. So keep it simple. Reward the appointment and say thank you for every single one. Rewarding that behavior that makes us more money is the idea here. And the referral lead on average closes at roughly 50%. So if you're getting 6 times more referrals than you would have,
Yeah.
again, you're getting more at bats, and again, you're going to close more business in the long run. So those are some
Absolutely.
quick suggestions, but yeah.
Well, I think that I love that, and we've talked about this before, but the referral programs you guys recommend is like, don't do a referral program if they sell the job or not.
Right.
Like, that's not there. Like, if you went through the effort of referring somebody, who may be interested, it's like you don't control if they have the budget for it or anything like that, but you went out of your way to
Right.
tell somebody about, their company, and you would have paid how much money for that lead in the first place. So it's like, yeah, compensate that. And then I think it's really interesting, just like even the note of like the gesture alone, it makes all the difference of going, hey, I appreciate that.
Yep.
I think that goes a long way. It could be a gift card, or it could be just a handwritten thank you note with with $25 in it. It's like, well, that's surprising in today's culture. So
Homeowner does not expect that at all. And so
yeah.
when they see that, kind of appreciation from you,
Yep.
going to do it again. It's like that law of reciprocity that you mentioned
Yep.
earlier. So
No, I think that's huge.
good stuff.
I think that's so interesting to kind of dive into. I think that's so I think we've gotten off track a little bit from the AI stuff, but I think there's just so much if like, just like you had mentioned, is like, we all know that we should do these things. It's just going, oh, where do we start? How do I get there?
AI can help you identify these opportunities even more clear, right? I mean, so
Yep.
based off of your customer base, you can pull that data from your customers, and you can go market like geographically, like if there are certain
Mhm.
zip codes that you want to go after canvassing, or if you want to do like a direct mail campaign,
Yep.
and you know that you really do well in this zip code, or these are the ideal customers for you based off of your data set, then we can be a little bit more smart with how we invest our money, and we can go after these areas a little bit more confidently because of this information that we have that we didn't have prior, to the AI stuff. So
Yep.
again,
Absolutely.
lead source performance. There's all kinds of ways to leverage this AI to, again, the bottom line is, making money, right? And whether it's 100, you're doing 100 million or 10 million, we're all in this business to make a living and to provide, for our families and to provide for employees. And this AI stuff, these systems
Hmm.
certainly help us be more profitable and just make better decisions with everything across the board, from hiring to um, marketing to lead um, distribution,
Yep.
which products we service and sell. There's lots of ways to leverage that data, and you're right. Think Unlimited and I think PSAI are really the two leaders in our industry
Hmm.
that I'm seeing the most often. Are there others out there that you've heard about, at least from like the contractor's perspective? I know like in our worlds, there's, certain programs that we can be using, but from
Yeah.
field perspective, Sean, are you seeing anything else out there?
I think the other ways I'm seeing AI starting to get developed within the home improvement industry is in measurements,
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit more too. I think that's, I feel like every day I'm kind of seeing a new interior measurement tool that's starting to pop up,
Yep.
and kind of market that as well, which is pretty crazy. Like, the depths of your camera, like, and taking just a video or having customers take video around their house,
Yep.
like, the one-click contractor crew using the planner technology, like literally walking around or having a homeowner walk around the room of the house getting like accurate interior measurements, like you could get exterior measurements today with photos, like is still mind-blowing to me. And yeah, I think that's going to be I think that's going to be a game changer for some of this stuff here
Oh,
too.
100%. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because completely just slipped my mind. Yeah, one click contractor, they are everywhere. You
Mhm.
mentioned some of these programs that you see at these events. They're everywhere. Planner, another one. Just super smart technology that, again, in some regards, kind of ahead of their time. But in really the big picture, like perfectly, like the timing couldn't be better because of just this world that we live in, where everybody wants stuff now. They want, in terms of just being efficient with, the reps time, and giving the homeowners the ability to kind of create this project, to be able to actually experience kind of the feel and look of it. Maybe
Yep.
not so much feel, but the look of it before it were even to be built out, I think is super powerful, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of that type of stuff here, just being adopted across the board. And I think what's really cool, like, is they're trying to make it as much as possible. They're trying to make it available for everybody, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
just for the big guys. This is for
Yep.
all different sizes of home improvement companies, so that they can just, again, be providing that great customer experience. It helps you differentiate yourself from your competition, because if you think about using that technology in front of the homeowner, it's just, I mean, in most cases they're not familiar with something like this, and they're like, it's like an out of body experience, like, holy cow, this is so cool. And
Yep.
again, it helps you sell at that premium price. um, yeah, so many advantages. Yeah, thank you for mentioning those two. Those two are definitely leaders in the AI world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a couple others that I can think of, from a marketing standpoint that I think this relates to, not knowing where to start. I think in many ways, like there's like from a content side of things, most companies, I talked about this a couple webinars ago, that I think most companies' websites are still pretty bare bones. The whole idea of putting a blog out there or putting like content out there or starting an email newsletter. You might even sign up for a MailChimp or an email tool, but then you're like, you can see the blinking line there, and you just you're like, what do people want me to email them? What will they engage with? Well,
Right.
and I mean, if you haven't like signed up for a Chat GPT account, like the questions I'm asking and the title of this webinar was built from ChatGPT. So
Right.
if you can, ask the go, I'm a home improvement contractor. Give me a example blog post that about 3 reasons why to replace your roof. They'll create you a blog post,
Yeah.
copy paste, and there's your content right there. You clean it up a little bit, but using Chat GPT to even get your brain to start going in that direction, just like ask a question, like if you put yourself in a homeowner's shoes and you've got great content sitting in front of you. It is extremely powerful from that point of view.
Yeah.
And then,
You
like,
can't turn around anywhere today would not see Chat GPT pop up somewhere on your feed. It's like
yeah. Well,
the
even Google and all that kind of stuff will have that stuff, but even answering, like, that's just how we think today. From if you want like engaging content on a newsletter, go, you know, give me 5 fun facts about home improvement, and it will pop out 5 facts about home improvement. It's give me 5 more, and
Yep.
it is absolutely wild what kind of answers you get to these questions. So if you're not playing with it, already getting your mind in that, that's just the future of search in general. But I think, yeah, there's some tools out there that can help create content that's actually valuable, and a couple of them out there, like to write blog posts or to write and help you create like social media images and get your stuff out there like that, is one's called Jasper.ai. And it's just an AI content writing tool, and it's got a bunch of prompts and stuff. They were kind of blew up with a lot of realtors. Like most real estate listings have like they're limited to like 280 characters or however many characters. So like the realtors were using this tool and ChatGPT ahead of time to go write me a description about a house with 4 bedrooms that sounds really good. And most of those descriptions are done through AI today. They're not like people writing those things. So it's if you can write little snippets using some of those tools just for a blog on your site or refreshing the content on your website, your marketing, your email drip campaigns, send out an email every single week to a customer, and then just spend a couple hours using a tool like that to be able to
Yeah.
create a bunch of content.
Yep.
Just because you can't think of engaging things to talk about roofing or windows or bath or HVAC, these tools can do a better job. And I also highly recommend like find out what your competitors are doing, and then just copy some of the stuff and do it a little bit different. So, or go to a different market. If you're in Minneapolis, like I am, go to St. Louis or to Los Angeles and go Google, roofing companies and what they're doing, and steal their ideas. Like that's a great way of innovation right there, is just through great old, innovating and iterating off of what other people have been doing. So
Yep.
highly recommend doing that from a marketing perspective. A couple of questions came in here. Is that Share had asked, just is snail mail suggested on top of digital? I'm curious your perspective on that.
Yeah, we think that can be really like a stealth approach, right? Because it's kind of under the radar. Your competition really has no visibility into what you're doing. And I mean, we mentioned earlier, like there's so much competition right now in the email space,
Yep.
less so in the kind of snail mail space. So you can get creative. It's really a piece that you own. Again, uh, the challenge that we have kind of heard is just the content creation. But Sean just shared a bunch of great ideas there where you can leverage some of these tools to help you if you get stuck in a rut with thinking about what to say. I would at the very least try to do it 4 times a year, once a quarter. This is a great opportunity for you to not only just stay engaged with the homeowner, but to potentially showcase a new service or product, or maybe you're going into a new market and you want to let your customers know that you're going to be now, in Kansas City or whatever it might be. And maybe they have friends and family there. So you're starting to kind of, build that communication thread. All in all, direct mail, snail mail is not dead. If anything, it's coming back with a vengeance. And we would highly suggest that you, do it and be committed to, to it for at least a year. You can put in numbers to track it, so if a number were to call in, or if a customer were to call in, that came from the newsletter, and so you can track the ROI on it. There's QR codes, a lot of different ways to really be able to ensure that you're getting your best bang for the buck. And if you have any questions about what to put in there, we can certainly, gFour, we'll be more than happy to kind of give you guys some suggestions on how to make a successful newsletter. There's a lot of, content online that you can also, I'm sure, find out there. And again, just try to find it to be something where it's engaging. It's not just about your services. You want to wrap this newsletter. When I say wrap it, you kind of want the front and the back to look like it's, it's going to be something that they see value in. I mean, it's making that 2 to 3 minute impression, right? So that they remember who you are and about all of your services, so that when the time is right, they're thinking of you, not somebody else. So yes, absolutely. Throw that into your mix, and it will help also lift a lot of your other marketing efforts, just because you're building that customer base. Now, I forgot to mention this. If you have call centers, if some of you are making outbound calls, there's nothing better than calling behind a newsletter. So if you can put a newsletter together, figure out, what you're going to do. You guys can work with the mail, the office there, the post office, to figure out, when this should be arriving in the homes. You can put together a script. It will certainly help you increase your contact rate and overall conversion rate, and it gives you more of a softer entrance into those calls, rather than just going right to here's a discount, here's a sale, here's whatever it is that we're doing to get these appointments scheduled. Hey, did you see the newsletter that we sent out to you? What do you think about the recipe? Or something like
that. It
that.
just gives you something to talk about there too.
Refer to, gives you something to talk about. So
yep.
Yeah, that's another great opportunity there from a call center outbound dialing perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you guys physically doing the mailing and all that kind of stuff, or are you just kind of helping create the ideas overall?
We create it, we design it, we send it, we do it all. So we will meet with the contractor to see if there's a certain service or something that they want to highlight, maybe promote. And, we will run it by them to get their final blessing before anything were to launch. And just kind of like what you were saying, Sean, like,
yep,
if there is a very successful newsletter in Minneapolis and you're in Tampa, Florida, why recreate the wheel? If you guys are both roofers, yep, and this has been really working, we can share with the contractor, some success. And if they want to replicate it, we can certainly, help them do that. But
yeah,
absolutely. Yep. We are doing all of it, from the content creation to the execution.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I think it's interesting, all the different things that are out there, or the different tools that you can use. But I think there's the handwritten cards that are like the tools that can handwrite cards that look like a handwritten card. Those are really cool, and you get more likely to be opened. And it's just some really cool ideas out there. And again, if you can get that into automation and come up with an idea and then automate that idea, you're most likely to continue to do it. You can loop those newsletters over 12 months. You create them, and then you read. It's like you put the time and effort in. You create the automation, and then let it be, and go check on the results later. There's a lot of tools that you can do out there like that. Autumn asked about just any recommendations for AI with call center. There's a tool called Balto that does the same thing. It actually works outside of your call center. Any like Five9, or if you're using a different CRM call center tool, it'll make sure your agents are answering all the questions. So if you're telling them like they have to make sure both homeowners are home, it'll check a box. It's really cool. I'd highly recommend looking into that. That's an AI tool. It works regardless of your CRM or dialer. The other one that there's a bunch of other like tools, even like Five9 and Convoso, which is another big kind of your call center tool out there, are equipping some of these AI tools of like when to contact a lead based off of algorithms and all that kind of stuff there too. There's some really cool tools out there too with that. Stacy, you kind of asked about any like auto texting apps for texting that are really, really good. I'm curious, Pete, if you have a quick answer to that one, because there's Hatch that I know in this space, but
Marlamar is a great one.
Yep.
You see those guys. We see Hatch and Marlamar probably. There's another one I'm drawing a blank on. Shoot. Those two are probably the most prevalent that I see out there.
Yep. One more question was just what type of CRMs do you recommend most? Any kind of main CRMs that out there that you're seeing more often than others?
Yeah, great question. A lot of it depends on you. So kind of where you're at today as a company, and what I mean by that is how many employees do you have? Are you running multiple services? Because there are some that are great, like Job Nimbus. Dave just threw up there a great CRM. There are some that are, really positioned well for kind of where you're at in that spectrum of being a business. Are you an established kind of enterprise type client? Then I would say like an Improve It 360, a Salesforce, a Job Nimbus would be great. There's we can send a list afterwards. I mean, there's dozens of them.
Yeah.
Are you in the roofing vertical? I think there are some that are a little bit more specific for that. We see a lot of roofers who use Nimbus. We see AccuLynx as another, primarily kind of heavy roofing CRM. Then, Lead Perfection, Market Sharp, Builder Prime is another one that's kind of made its way onto the scene here recently. Yep.
Well, that's just it. I think every business is at a different stage, and there's some industry specific, trade specific CRMs that I would highly recommend based on the type of where you're at in the in business. So, Pete, how can we get a hold of you if people want to reach out to you? How can we honor you?
I'm around in the office or at a lot of these events, so pretty easy to get a hold of. But we would, certainly love to talk to you, with doing this for 15 to 16 years, kind of on the vendor side of things.
Yep.
We certainly have a lot of relationships with a lot of these companies that we've mentioned today. And there's others that, unfortunately, we weren't able to kind of, plug per se, but I would love to be kind of a middleman and help anyone who needs any type of an introduction, whether that's to gFour or to some of these CRM vendors, AI companies. There's a lot of great services out there ready to help you take your business to the next level. And, that's why we all exist, is to, make your lives easier so that you can continue doing what you do best, which is, sell and service the homeowner. So please, call or email, and we will we'll help however we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, Pete, thank you so much for your time today and
Uh,
spending this with us. This is, and just to echo exactly what you said, there's a lot of vendors that we didn't speak about today that are up and coming and growing in AI and automation and systems that if you have questions or we can help you in any way, we're an open book. We're all trying to, help businesses grow. So thank you guys so much for that. Pete, as always, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on here. Thank you so
Thanks,
much for
guys.
spending
Thanks
the
so
time.
much, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Well, have a great day, everybody.